What happens when a CEO invites a maid to play chess, just as a joke? Sounds like a harmless prank, right? But what happens next will leave you speechless. This maid, underestimated by everyone, makes a move that stuns the CEO and shocks the entire room. You won't believe how this game turns out. Stick around, this powerful moment will change how you see talent and strategy. Clara hesitated for a moment, looking around at the other employees in the hallway, who were now watching the exchange with curious eyes. She could feel the weight of their stares, the subtle judgment in their expressions. She was used to being invisible, just another part of the background in the grand corporate world. But here, in this moment, she had been pulled into the spotlight. Despite the oddity of the situation, Clara didn't hesitate long. With a soft smile, she nodded and stepped toward the conference room. "I'll play, Mr. Hartley," she replied, her voice calm and confident. Nathan's smirk widened as he led her into the room, positioning himself at one end of the large chessboard. He couldn't help but feel a sense of superiority. After all, he was a seasoned executive with a sharp mind. But Clara's serene demeanor only made him more curious. She wasn't flustered or intimidated by the CEO's challenge, which only added to the intrigue. As the pieces were set, the room filled with a mix of expectation and amusement. The executives, who had gathered to witness what they assumed would be a quick and humorous game, took their seats, eager to see the spectacle unfold. Little did they know this was about to be anything but ordinary. Nathan leaned back in his chair, watching Clara carefully as she made her move. He couldn't help but feel a rush of confidence. After all, he was the CEO of a massive corporation, a man who prided himself on his intellect and strategic thinking. Surely, a maid wouldn't be able to compete with him in a game like chess. As Clara moved her pawn, a subtle smile spread across Nathan's face. He expected her to falter, to make a mistake, but instead, her move was calm, precise, and deliberate, exactly what he hadn't expected. The executives around the table exchanged glances, some chuckling quietly, others glancing at Nathan with raised eyebrows, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. Clara didn't seem nervous. She didn't seem eager to please or intimidated by the powerful men sitting around her. Her eyes remained steady, focused only on the board in front of her. Nathan, still confident, moved his queen forward again, aiming for an aggressive attack. "You've got to stay sharp, Clara," he teased, trying to maintain his superiority. But Clara's next move was nothing short of brilliant. She shifted her knight into position, countering Nathan's queen and setting up a defense he hadn't anticipated. It was subtle yet strategic, a move that immediately caught Nathan off guard. For the first time, a flicker of doubt crossed his face. The atmosphere in the conference room grew heavier with each passing moment. The executives, once laughing and whispering about the impending spectacle, now watched in stunned silence as Clara's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with Nathan's growing discomfort. Nathan had been the one used to calling the shots, the one who prided himself on his intellect and strategic thinking, but Clara's quiet confidence was unsettling him. His moves, though bold and aggressive at first, were met with Clara's simple yet calculated responses. Her pawn placements, knight shifts, and quiet sacrifices were all leading him down a path he hadn't anticipated. She wasn't rushing or showing any signs of panic. Instead, she played with a level of patience and clarity that slowly chipped away at Nathan's once unshakable confidence. As the minutes passed, Nathan's initial arrogance began to fade, replaced by a growing realization. Clara wasn't just playing for fun, she was playing to win. He had expected to show off his skills in front of the room, but now he was the one on the defensive.
Trying to regain control, Nathan asked with a hint of unease, "Is this your first time playing?"
Clara's response was simple, yet it carried a quiet strength. "No, Mr. Hartley. I used to play with my grandfather when I was younger. He always told me, the game is about patience and the ability to anticipate your opponent's next move." Nathan couldn't suppress the admiration that started to creep in. The woman who had always been in the background, invisible to most, was now teaching him a lesson he hadn't expected to learn. The room, once filled with the sound of whispered comments and smug chuckles, had fallen completely silent. The tension was palpable as Nathan stared at the chessboard, his mind racing, trying to find an escape route, but every option seemed to vanish with each passing second. His earlier bravado had been replaced by a sinking feeling in his stomach as the reality of the game set in. He was about to lose, not just to anyone, but to Clara, the quiet maid he had never taken seriously. The executives, who had been so confident in Nathan's victory, now exchanged nervous glances. Their earlier amusement had been replaced by a shared sense of disbelief. It wasn't just the game that had changed, it was the entire atmosphere in the room. What had started as a light-hearted challenge was now a high-stakes battle of wits, and Clara was in control. Nathan glanced at the board again, his mind scrambling to piece together a solution. His king was exposed, and Clara's pieces were strategically placed, each move designed to corner him, to force him into a position where he couldn't escape. His queen was immobilized, and his rook was blocked. Clara had outmaneuvered him at every turn, and now it was clear he was trapped. With the room holding its breath, Clara moved her knight with a steady hand, shifting it into position. The final move. She had blocked Nathan's queen, leaving him with no options. "Checkmate," Clara said softly, her voice calm but firm. The words echoed in the room, and for a moment, no one moved. Nathan sat frozen, staring at the board in disbelief. The executives, who had been eagerly anticipating his win, sat motionless, absorbing the shock of the moment. Nathan's face flushed, a mixture of embarrassment and awe. He had underestimated Clara in every way. She hadn't just beaten him in a game of chess. She had beaten his arrogance, his assumptions, and his underestimation of her. In that single moment, Clara had turned the tables, and Nathan knew he would never forget this lesson. For a few moments, the room remained deathly silent, as if everyone was waiting for something to break the tension. Nathan Hartley sat frozen, his eyes locked on the chessboard in disbelief. Clara had done it. She had beaten him. The room, which had once been filled with whispers and chuckles, was now absorbed in a quiet respect. The executives, who had thought they were about to witness a harmless joke, were now grappling with the reality of what had just happened. Clara, calm and poised as ever, stood up from the chair and looked at Nathan. There was no smugness, no gloating, just a quiet pride that filled the space between them. "Thank you for the game, Mr. Hartley," she said, her voice steady yet laced with a subtle sense of triumph. Nathan, still stunned by the turn of events, stood up slowly. He extended his hand toward Clara, his earlier arrogance now completely replaced by admiration. "You're amazing," he said, his voice thick with genuine respect. "You've earned my respect." The executives, who had been eager to laugh at Clara's expense, now stood in awe, humbled by the grace and intelligence that she had shown. In that moment, they saw something rare. A woman who had been invisible in their corporate world had just outsmarted their CEO, and they couldn't help but respect her. As Clara left the room, she carried more than just a victory. She had proven that true talent doesn't depend on appearance or status. It transcends expectations, and it shines brightest when given the chance to be seen. Before you go, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on more incredible stories like this one. If Clara's unexpected move left you amazed, smash that like button and share this video with someone who needs a reminder not to judge by appearances. Drop a comment below. What would you have done if you were in the CEO's shoes? Let's get the conversation started. Join our growing family, and let's keep surprising the world with stories that inspire. See you in the next video.